Welcome back. I'm Craig with Southern Nevada Off-Road Recovery. I'm sitting here with John, and we're going to watch a couple videos that may not have been performed exactly right, and we're going to get John's take and maybe a recommendation on how to do it better next time.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of things we can always learn from watching other people make memories.
All right, so we got a Jeep coming down a hill here. You said you actually recognize this hill. Where is this?
Yeah, this is on the trail called Behind the Rocks outside of Moab, Utah. So this is an obstacle called High Dive, and basically you're driving off a cliff.
You know, the thing that always interests me watching these videos is sometimes it's hard to get the perspective of side angle or down angle. So my first thought is he's going to go down a big curb here. It's a step, but it's hard to tell how steep and how off camber this thing is.
So yeah, that first step there, it's a legitimate 3.5, almost 4 feet to the first step down, and then even further to the ground.
So what's happening here? It looks like he's coming down and he's just dropping one tire down the step as opposed to coming down with both of them. So how could he have prevented this?
So a couple different things here that we could look at. Definitely, the Jeep came down a little too far driver. So we see that driver's side tire is real high up on the rock, closer to the spotter, and then that passenger tire actually went right down into the crack, which would be the worst place you would want that tire to go.
So is the line actually moving the whole vehicle passenger a few feet to treat that like a V-notch and straddle it? Or should he have been all the way driver and come down the solid rock?
No, you definitely expose yourself if you come down about on the driver's side where the spotter is standing. But it's a very fine line of a V-notch there. You're trying, the ultimate goal is to try and ride that driver's side wall with the sidewall of your tire, and it kind of steps your vehicle down.
You know, I've told people when they're looking at things like this, you're always looking for the two flattest, straightest lines to keep the vehicle as absolutely level as possible. And obviously, in this case, that front right corner drops down in a hole, so he did exactly the opposite. I'm just impressed that this guy ate his Wheaties in the morning and he thinks he's going to catch that vehicle and hold it up by himself.
I think that's a natural instinct. A lot of people panic, and if they're standing close to something, they want to jump in to help. And not realizing maybe they're not exposed to this environment that much, or they just see something bad happening, and so in their effort to try to prevent something bad, they actually put themselves in what I'd call a kill zone. And somehow he got away without being maimed.
So the short answer is he should have been a couple more feet over passenger, straddled that V-notch, and he'd have come down.
Yeah, that specific obstacle, it flips a lot of vehicles over. So that shorter wheelbase Wrangler, definitely high risk for that thing to happen.
Well, I'm gonna keep that in mind if I ever go up there.
Yeah, you got a 4-door though. Your 4-door's got a little more wheelbase. You'll be okay.
I like my 4-door.
I'll guide you down there. I've dropped a few Jeeps off of that edge.
I'm looking forward to it.
I got stuck driving down that thing once.
Did you?
Yeah, I got my front bumper in the ground, and I couldn't go forward anymore.
Were you able to back up a little bit?
Yeah, I had a bunch of big old guys in the back, and I had one tire 4 feet in the air, and they're just pushing the back of my truck as in my power wagon. And finally, they kind of rocked it, and I was able to drive out. But
very cool. All right, we're going to go into another one here. So it looks like this yellow vehicle might be stuck on a rock or a bush or a sand berm. It's kind of hard to tell what he's high-centered on. Guy in the white vehicle's got a tow strap. Before we actually see what happens here, do you see anything you don't like going into this?
Well, I think we're a little bit into it for a second here, but that first that yellow Toyota, I think it was pointing a little bit uphill and a little bit across the side of the hill, and that strap's connected directly across the side of the hill, and it's going to apply a lot of force. And if you got a vehicle already leaning halfway across the hill and you pull it sideways across that hill, gravity's going to come into play very, very quickly, and it's going to have its way with you.
So does it look like that strap's on the high side?
Yep.
All right, let's see what happens when we apply some tension to it. So we got a vehicle sitting on the ground. We're going to yank real hard and maybe a little too far sideways on the high side, huh?
Yep.
I'm going to back up to that just a second. So hindsight being 20/20 and being a driving instructor, how would you have recommended this thing gets hooked up and pulled out of there, keeping all 4 tires on the ground?
So I definitely like to use gravity to my advantage. So if that Toyota was stuck there, I probably would have come in from the back end, hooked up, and tried to pull it straight back. You want to be parallel with that fall line as much as possible. The fall line is the straightest line down the hill that gravity is going to pull you. If you try to pull something across the fall line, that's exposing yourself to a lot of risk and a lot of danger.
And you fall over.
And you make memories like that. Yep.
Memories, I like that. Those are not the memories you want, though. All right, so we're going into another one here. Looks like a Cherokee, maybe.
Yep.
I'm not sure how he got down in the mud there. He obviously didn't drive through that mud creek, so he must have been up on the right side there somehow. Gets the passenger side stuck down in there.
This looks like a lot of decisions that were made. I would say there's some peer pressure. There was probably
Does that happen?
A lot of partying that happened that led to people making poor decisions.
All right, so he's stuck. This guy decides that he's going to counterbalance and stand up on the high side there.
Yeah.
I got to admit, I'm a big guy, and I've stood on the high side to keep things from rolling over. Not while something was hooked to. I'm not even sure that's a kinetic rope. This might be a pretty abrupt pull, but let's see what happens here when we get a running start and start pulling on this vehicle.
Yeah, this is definitely. If I was in this scenario, probably about the time I walked away from being involved with this, because this is looking like it's going to end very, very poorly. So you got a buddy waving on, hey, hit it faster, hit it harder. Anytime you get that kind of energy happening, you're going to shock load, and it's going to lead to destruction of a lot of things. And hopefully none of it's bodily harm.
These guys on the other side, hit it, go, go, go.
Yep, and
I went.
Yeah, they did it, and they left the axle in the ground. So
what's your experience? Just backing up a second, we had the two vehicles, white one pulling the yellow one that ends up rolled over. We got this guy in the mud, and it seems like the first error of recovery here may be too much force on a static strap that is just going to whip like a chain. Would you use a strap in something like this? Would you use a winch with a little slower application of force so you could see what was happening and change your approach before you tear things up?
I think there's definitely a lot of dynamics that you need to consider. So the sand scenario, I think a strap would have been beneficial in the proper application.
Just on the low side.
Correct.
Gotcha.
In the mud, that mud's going to create a lot of suction. You have a lot of force. You can very rapidly exceed working load limits of equipment. Kinetic straps or static straps, they're only designed to be worked anywhere from 3 to 5 miles an hour. You exceed 3 to 5 miles an hour in a kinetic energy recovery rope, it's not going to do what it's supposed to do, and you're going to shock load and cause a failure.
So in this case here with the red Cherokee, we did not exceed the working load limit of the strap, but it appears we may have exceeded the working load limit of the front axle.
Yeah. So that front end was buried pretty deep, right? So it's basically you have that axle against the cliff edge, and you just ripped everything off the top of it, and the weakest link failed. So in that scenario, definitely a shovel, a winch, right? You want to eliminate as much resistance as possible. And the angle again here came huge into play. It looks like they're up on this little dike or berm there, so that's where the safe place was for the recovering vehicle. But that side angle definitely put a lot of torsional force into.
Well, these are very cool, John. I like seeing these and being able to Monday morning quarterback these after the fact and see what we could have, should have, would have done.
Right.
Fortunately, when we narrate some of these SNORR videos, they're all successful, happy endings. But people ask for these, and we don't have any of our own videos to share like this. So fortunately, they're on the internet. We can pull them off and talk about them after the fact. But I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We'll see you on the next one.
Absolutely.
Thanks, John.